Hello, you stunning woman on the go. Welcome back to Dismantling Hate, the show where I sift through the intellectual landfill so you don't have to. And today, ooh, girl, we are taking another look at GenSpect.
Gross.
We're going to be reacting to a panel that took place in Denver in early 2024. This video has over 10,000 views, which is honestly shocking because I didn't know doom scrolling counted as community service.
Oh, you.
And what a lineup. I mean, a whole roster of people who wake up every morning and choose to weaponize their degrees like they are Pokemon cards. We've got Heather Haking, who has a PhD in biology, and she's here to remind us that somehow, some way, frogs justify transphobic ideals. Incredible. Then we have Carrie Mendoza, an emergency room doctor. When you've treated gunshot wounds and snake bites, the natural next step is fear-mongering about gender-affirming care on YouTube panels. Love women in STEM. The opioid epidemic didn't teach her empathy, but it did teach her how to give a very dramatic TED Talk about the dangers of pronouns. Stunning. And we have Nina Paley, animator, cartoonist, and self-appointed martyr of cancel culture. Fresh off being banned by Indiegogo, she's here to bravely defend free speech, which in her context means my right to be proudly wrong on the internet. And rounding out our lineup here is Carole Hooven. It's fun to say. Say it, Carole Hooven. There's a hair in my mouth. Harvard-adjacent testosterone fan club president who apparently decided that the hormone that's responsible for body odor and bar fights is also the key to understanding trans identities. She's basically just a gym locker room with a book deal. And this entire panel is moderated by Jessie Mannisto, whose resume looks like somebody combined a CIA interrogation manual with a Substack comment section. And she's the moderate one. Imagine that. Before the video even starts, they slap a giant disclaimer on it like a parental advisory sticker. Nothing says we believe in our message like a whole organization distancing itself from their own panel. So buckle in, buckle tight, because what we're about to indulge in is a binge-worthy parade of pseudoscience, moral panic, and adults with prestigious careers saying things that would get them roasted in grade 7 health class. Let's get into it. Dismantling Hate starts now. Oh yeah, my name's David. Subscribe to this channel. Whatever. And the video is called Not Your Mom. You're not my mom. Reinforce your britches. Here we go.
Here we go. Thank you. All right. Hi, everyone. My name's Jessie Mannisto. I am
That's Jessie Mannisto,
the editor of our articles here at GenSpect, submissions@genspect.org if you have any ideas you want to share after the fact. I'm also, you may know me from Third Factor Magazine, which is something I run where we've talked about giftedness and gender, among other things. So that's what brings me here today, to talk to all of these fabulous ladies, because one of the things I want to say, I thought this after Killarney, and I'm thinking it again now, that this group is one of the best collections of both intellect and courage that I have ever had the privilege to be part of. And
remember this, intellect and courage. Courageous I will hand to them immediately, but gifted, intellectual?
I don't see any.
Put a pin in that.
that means all of you too, by the way. So give yourselves a hand.
Love it.
It's uncommon, as I think you know, to be the type of person who comes to something like this. And our panel...
I wonder why that is. We shouldn't believe things just because the masses do, but at some point you need to take a step back and think, why is there such a small group of us? It's probably the frogs who got turned gay by the fluoride. That's probably what happened was.
Today have all demonstrated courage and intellect, and that combination in their own work.
Okay, courage and intellect. I don't know.
And it's something that I think we all could really learn from. I was thinking of,
We're here for that.
Joe Burgo talked yesterday about the importance of male role models for boys going through gender dysphoria.
Clearly, I didn't have any of that.
And of course, I also think that about the trans-identified girls who maybe haven't been encouraged to be courageous or to use their brains, to have been told that they should just stop being convenient, they should sit down and don't be so inconvenient. So I hope that our panelists today can share some of their stories, show off why they are exemplars for all of us.
Yeah, so a huge part of the way that GenSpect comes to this conversation overall as their organization is that they think that gay people exist, but they think that the far left or the radical left is pushing gay people into being trans when they are just a gay woman or a gay man. So from their perspective, the radical left would be pushing me to be a trans woman because I'm just a feminine man. My name is David They. I use they, them pronouns, but when I go out into the world, I get he, himmed, up, right, left, down, front, and back, Front and back. I've never legitimately been pressured into a trans identity. And hey, maybe some people are, but to look at an entire group of people and say, you've been manipulated into feeling this way, I think is very dismissive, is not supported by the science, and is just shitty behavior. Let's go with that.
They're not your mom. We're allowed to have boundaries. It's not our problem if people don't like what we have to say. So to start off...
Okay, that's what it makes sense. Not your mom, because your mom would care about your feelings, but we don't. These women do not give a flying rat's pahunk about your feelings.
I want to ask maybe Carole and Nina, because we haven't heard from them yet, if they can tell us some of their stories, what they have faced, and what they've done about it.
Okay.
Thank you. So I think it might be helpful to just describe how I got here, and it's through the science. And
okay, she's a science woman. She's a woman in STEM. Okay, we're very scientifically minded. Is this the frog lady? I don't remember. I can't wait.
I started out before I came to Harvard for my PhD studying chimpanzees, wild chimpanzees in Western Uganda.
Cool.
And that convinced me that sex is real, sex differences are real, and
I love her body language on the left there. Yeah. Well, the chimpanzees, that's just the exact same as humans, apparently. Oh.
And non-human animals have a whole lot in common with what the kinds of sex differences I saw in chimpanzees. And so I started my PhD research on sex differences and testosterone, particularly in mental rotation and other aspects of spatial ability and cognition, and just I was just extremely curious about how this all worked. That's why I wanted to get a PhD. I had no idea what I would do afterwards. But there was very little that would have convinced me that the sex differences that we see in humans and the reality of sex is a social construction, because I had this experience, much like Heather did, sort of in the wild and observing sex from an evolutionary point of view.
But wait, though, is Carole, is her name Carole or is her name Nancy? Probably Brenda. Is she saying that trans folks believe that their sex is transitioning? Because I think most trans folks, would concede that they are not necessarily changing their biological sex, but their gender identity and their gender expression and the way that they show up in the world is definitely socially constructed. We've seen that across time and culture in human history. So that doesn't make sense to me.
And my curiosity about it and my love of teaching led me to stay at Harvard as a non-tenured instructor, which was an unusual position for me to be in. I was in a human evolutionary biology department, and I had this, I was basically responsible for the undergraduate program in that department for a long time. I developed close relationships with students, and I taught about all aspects of endocrinology.
And then she was canceled because she was transphobic. Is that where this is going? I think that's where this is going.
What they do for us, what we do to them, sort of the reciprocal relationship between hormones and behavior and culture and humans. And what I just...
But she's just talking about the connection between hormones and behavior. And I think the middle linking factor between hormones and behavior is the way that our brains function. Because the structure of the human brain across the sexes is not that different. But the function of the human brain with the presence of testosterone and or estrogen and the balance between the two is really what enforces behavior, of which there is a spectrum. And the way that we categorize those behavior is something of a social construct. Because we connect the behavior that is mostly driven by the hormones that we see in the expression of the gender of the people in front of us. So of course it is socially constructed. Right? Or am I just dumb and it's late?
Is that students want the truth. Undergraduates can handle the truth. They are seeking it. They crave it. But as an instructor, you want to have a sense in your classroom of trust. And that's important for engaging students in...
The woman on the left, who is this? Jessie Mannisto on the left. I'm sorry, I had a beard hair in my teeth. I don't even need to buy floss. I could just use my beard hair because enough ends up in my mouth. Sorry.
Challenging each other and challenging me. But what I didn't expect, sorry, I'll probably start crying. What I didn't expect is that happened to be graduate students for the most part who really didn't know me and weren't in my classroom.
Or they were more educated, who's to say?
Kind of attacked me for, yes, I went on Fox and Friends and said, talked about the reality of sex.
She went on Fox News. Clap if you care.
Also really had discovered, I'm now going back to the classroom for a second, had discovered that when I teach about the reality of sex and sexual development and the varieties and differences in sexual development, this always increases compassion among my students. They ended up wanting, those who were going to medical school, which is a lot of them, wanted to focus on trying to help people who had differences or disorders of sexual development. I developed close relationships with a lot of those students.
But only the undergraduate ones, and it always increases compassion except for the graduate students. I'm confused.
So I know that telling the truth is respecting people, is doing them a favor, and who am I to decide that my ideology is what other people need to hear, is what...
But who are you also to decide, I guess, what the truth is in that moment? Because a lot of the things that we see as truth are dictated by our own perceptions and experiences. I know I've talked out of my ass on this channel before and said that things were true that probably weren't. I can't think of any examples right now, because there's hundreds of videos. But if you look, I'm sure they're there. It's just how it works. Teachers are just as fallible as everybody else, you know?
Need to hear as a science educator. That's manipulating their reality, and that is lying to them. So I came here because that is my gut feeling, is that I should respect other people. I should respect students by being honest, by telling them what I believe to be the truth as a science educator.
There it is, what I believe to be the truth. Okay, well, she said it. She said the quiet part out loud.
Yes, I did it on Fox and Friends.
Yeah, I went onto a national extremist right-wing news program and was transphobic. And then the graduate students didn't trust me. Can you imagine such a thing?
I also said, but this is nature. There's nature over here, the facts of nature, and then there's what we want to do with it. There's what we think the implications are. And these are different things.
Okay.
And it ended up leading to me feeling that I had no choice but to leave my position at Harvard after all this time. This graduate student union took out a petition against me. I ended up not even being able to teach my big lecture class because none of them would serve as my teaching assistants.
Wow.
So since then, I have had a lot of discussions about sex and gender. And today, or last night, was a perfect example. I was talking to a scientist. I was talking to a mom, Emily, who is totally distraught over what is happening to her daughter, and she doesn't know what to do about it. I was talking...
Who we can only assume is a trans man, because the way that these people so diligently misgender everybody in their lives is sickening. And not in the sickening way, a literal, like, sickening way. Sorry. Whenever I make that noise in like a fun, dramatic way, it always ends up making me feel nauseous, but I keep doing it.
To Linda Blade, a coach who's extremely concerned about what is happening in sports. The truth is what all of these people have needed and are not getting. Our policies are not based on truth and evidence. So the more I discuss this and the more I discuss it openly, the better I feel about myself and living a life of integrity, and the better I feel, the more free I feel.
Well, it's almost like the identities of others have absolutely nothing to do with the way that you feel about yourself, right? It's almost like you can take care of you, and everybody else, if they're not harming each other, again, it's always that same brick wall, right? Because if somebody like across the street is living a trans identity and is happy, stunning, and gorgeous, a woman on the go, that's not affecting me. That's only affecting me if I'm a snowflake and I really care about what other people are doing. It wouldn't be a danger to your children unless your children are used to listening to people without the use of critical thinking, which is often the case within my experience with right-wing folks like this. I don't know if they're really right-wing. Well, no, Homegirl was on Fox News. Yeah, she's right-wing. Never mind.
Express myself, and I know that I'm inspiring other people to do the same because that's what they're telling me.
And you think that's a good thing, right? Because people mimic behavior. That's another part of evolutionary biology. You think she would know that. It doesn't actually matter if it's right or wrong. Monkey see, monkey do. See, I can talk about chimpanzees too. Carol, Brenda, Sarah. I don't know.
So if any...
Clap if you think she should suffer. Oh, okay, good. Me too. No.
It feels good to tell what you think is the truth, to have other people tell you it's helping them, and it is a sense of freedom, and it's your responsibility if you can do it. Not everyone can do it. I was able to leave my job. We took a financial hit, but it's worth it. I have new friends. I have friends who are more like you, who are some of the nicest people I have ever met since I ended up leaving my position. And
I'm sorry. Is it giving cult? Is it giving cult? You have to tell me in the comments if it's giving cult or not. Like looking at these 5 ladies here. But I don't know. We haven't seen their genetic markup, so maybe they're not ladies, right? We need a full inspection before any of them can be playing sports on a women's league, right? Yeah. Freedom, I guess.
that's why I'm here.
Yeah, clap into the microphone. Sorry, I'm bitter.
How about you, Nina?
Yeah, I'm your friend, right?
I know.
Oh, I can't wait for Nina. Give it to me, Nina.
My name is Nina Paley, and I'm a canceled artist, and I was just thinking...
Oh, she is giving artist taste. She's got that short pixie cut. Come on now.
Well, if this were 10 years ago, and I would be speaking into a microphone in front of a room of this many people, it would have been showing one of my 2 animated feature films, which almost nobody knows about now because I've been... Well, some people know about them. Very few people know about them. Now I'm known as a TERF.
She says with pride, right? A TERF is a trans-exclusionary radical feminist. So I believe that all women deserve equal rights. But only these women that look like this and do these things and have these genetics. Feminism includes all women. Can't exclude some women. That's not, by definition, feminism. Anyway, but Nina knows that.
But back in the day, I was known for my abilities and accomplishments.
Not me having the same, body language as Nina. We're one and the same, right? Maybe she's a trans man. No, we're not transvestigating on this channel. Stop it.
These, really good feature films. Please go look at them for free. Sita Sings the Blues and Satyr Masochism. And I've made other films too.
Oh.
And I have opinions about copyright and many other issues, but now it's all TERF all the time because I said in 2017 on Facebook that women don't have penises. Now, why do I care so much about that? I care because it's true. And prior to about 2015,
But the problem with this whole argument is that what are you defining as a woman? There is not a single phrase that you can say that this is what a woman is. There's not a single phrase that you can say that would include everybody who is a woman. If you say it's somebody's genetics, there are going to be people who, as a society, TERFs included, would define as a woman. There are genetic anomalies across the board. And then you can't say, okay, well, a woman has these body parts. Well, there are some women who don't have those body parts. You can't create an exclusive category that is correct 100% of the time when you're saying something like, this is what quantifies being a woman. This is what quantifies being a man, because not everybody will fall into those two categories. They are not mutually exclusive with each other. There are going to be outliers. I'm sorry, some women have the most gigantic... Anyway, sorry, Nina, back to it.
I could engage with people and share all kinds of ideas and have discussions and have conversations and have different opinions, and that it would not lead to a cancellation. And it just...
Also, I really feel like we're missing pieces from this story. It just doesn't seem like that's the only part of this story. I really feel like she doubled down and tried to like J.K. Rowling herself. But if you're not as rich as J.K. Rowling, you can't get away with that. You can only really be canceled if you allow people to cancel you as well. Like, don't be a snowflake and lay down, you know? If I did something that was, let's say, cancel worthy, I would not just roll over and give up. Like, I've worked too hard to just say, you know what? Yeah, what I said was awful because of this thing, or my behavior was reprehensible. So I'm just going to roll over and like, yeah, you're right. I'm going to go crawl under a rock and never be in the public eye again. That's just not the reality of what I would do if and when I make a mistake, because I know I already have and I know I will in the future. So just like stop being canceled, like stop being poor. But then you start this victim mentality of I've been victimized by the left because I was transphobic, because a lot of the times people on the left, or even centrist people at this point, overreact a lot. And I'm in that category too, man. Ooh, have I overreacted many times. Even currently, I'm working on it as well. So if you're here, if you've made it this far, you probably overreact to things too. And it's for a reason, but it can be really useful to look into why, and having some control over your own self when you feel those overreactions coming. It's hard, man. Anyway, let's keep going.
Suddenly started happening, I guess, in 2016. For me, 2017, because I spent a year learning about TERFs, because I already knew about trans, because I had some trans lovers and a lot of trans friends, and I'm 55 years old, and I was hanging out with trans people before these people had ever been born, that were canceling me, telling me I need to make some trans friends and stop being a Trump supporter.
Okay, let's hear her out. Where is this going?
So yeah, I spent about a year going like, well, they're calling me a TERF. Like, what is a TERF? And then realizing, oh, okay, yeah, radical feminism does make sense. These are the only people who are saying that sex is real. Anyway, my life is different now. I do want to say that I think I suggested the title of this panel, Not Your Mom.
There's a fruit fly in here, and I hate that for me. I've gotten really into plants, and I've also really gotten into over-watering those said plants.
Because I have noticed very much that women get so attacked more than men. There have been a few men, Graham Linehan being a clear example, who's been viciously attacked. But for the most part, I have seen men have more leeway to say things like women don't have penises. Like, just for that alone, they probably wouldn't have their careers ruined, that people could consider them reasonable. But there was like a real vicious attack on women. A lot of women have been canceled. A lot of women have been banned from Twitter and other social media. And there was just this expectation, like I woke up one day and it's like, oh, I'm a middle-aged woman and these people think it's my job to validate them. And like, they're mad at us. They're as mad at us as they would be as if their moms said no to them or something.
Okay, I'm seeing the connection. Yeah. No, I'm not mad at you, Nina. I'm not mad. I think you're sad. I think we're sad and lonely. I think we're just sad and misinformed and looking for connection. Almost like a multi-level marketing scheme, right? You're not necessarily a part of this community because of the values that they uphold within it. Rather, you're probably there for the pieces of community and the support you feel. And they would probably feel this like warm, fuzzy, like, yeah, sense of community if they were a part of, a bridge club. I don't know what bridge is, but I know that old people play it.
Like, the depth of the rage is more than just a person said that they don't agree. It's like,
oh, honey, the depth of my rage is down there so deep it would make your head spin. But not for Nina. No, I don't mind Nina, even though she's a TERF.
I am not fulfilling my role as mom to the messed up young people of the world to affirm their identities.
You don't have to affirm their identity, but if you're putting yourself out there as a public figure, you have to accept when people disagree with what you have to say. And, what is the act of canceling? People talking poorly about you? Okay, great. I've been canceled then since I was, 8 years old. I'm gonna say it. I was, 8 years old growing up in elementary school, and some little named Shania was I'll never forget this day. This little girl who was in one of my classes, her name was Shania. She was awful. I don't know. She was actually awful because this is coming from the memory of 8-year-old me. But I remember she stood and she was like, "You're fat." I'm like, okay, homegirl wasn't that far off. And she was like, "Why do you do that thing?" And I was like, "What thing?" And she said, she said, "You don't even have the hair that's long. Why do you keep doing that? What are you, a girl?" Have I told that story already on this channel? I don't know where we are. Nina, you're losing me.
Not gonna do that. I want to tell the truth. Truth is important. If they can get you to believe absurdities, they can get you to commit atrocities. And I was actually saying that.
Sure, yeah. Compare genocide that is currently happening in the world to trans-affirming healthcare. Okay, Nina, I'm starting not to stand you.
I was saying that prior to October 7th. This stuff really worried me as a society, as a member of society. So, yeah, and also for personally, as somebody who had really severe depressive episodes when I was younger, I also knew that lying was a recipe for really poor mental health on my part. So I've suffered a lot, I've lost a lot, I've cried a lot. I still carry a lot of resentment for former friends who have denounced me and people who believed lies about me and spread them. And I have I have more despair for humanity than I did before all this started, which is saying a lot. But I still do not regret my decisions to tell the truth.
I saw lots of focusing on this word, the truth. And it seems like these two women have been through a lot, but it's been at their own hand, I think, right? Trans people have also been through a lot, and I stand to reason that you don't choose your identity. Rather, life chooses for you. But these people decided to wake up one day and say that women don't have penises. And hey, most women don't. We're not arguing this, but some women do. And apparently, she was sleeping with some of them when she was younger. She said that. She said the word lover. Nina was loving those women with penises. Or maybe men with vulvas. I'm losing it.
One day I'm going to figure out how this mic works.
Cool.
We as women are expected to be nice. And sometimes we just can't be nice. And I wonder if that's what goes through a lot of young women's heads when they're like, I don't want to be a woman. But
it kind of feels like these folks are also very traumatized from the patriarchy, which makes sense, but it's almost like they're taking out their anger on trans folks when it would be better aimed towards the patriarchy, right? Like saying we as women are expected to be nice. I don't expect women to be nice. I don't expect men to be nice either. I don't expect really anybody to be nice. I just pay attention to people and see if they're nice. And if they appear to be nice, then I'll move a little closer. And if they still appear to be nice, then maybe I'll say something. And if they respond nicely, then, you have to build a rapport. Okay.
And you were talking about that, Carrie, in your discussion about not being nice to your patients. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit more about, when you have had to push back a little bit in the medical field.
Is it on? Yeah. Yeah, I touched on that with the opioid crisis, obviously, in the build-up to that, where...
No, I'm obsessed with her accent.
This environment of, making the patient happy, but when that conflicts with the Hippocratic Oath and
Star of David around her neck, is that what that is? Oh, brother.
You'd actually be making them worse. It is really hard, and I think it took a while for me to, find my voice, and that is part of, maturing. Heather was talking about, men are more direct at addressing conflict, and one thing...
But are they, though? Like, okay, no, they're not. Okay.
About my residency here at Denver Health, it was really, really male dominated, and emergency medicine still is male dominated. But it was great. It was hard, but it was just very direct. And I think I learned how to communicate in that style, because that was the style of the residency and had a reputation of being quote unquote malignant. That was before toxic masculinity was thrown around. But yeah, I think it's just as the dysfunction in the bureaucracy of medicine's developed, if you're practicing Hippocratic Oath medicine, more and more you have to learn how to say no and not feel bad about it, because you're actually really helping people. They just don't know it yet, but it's your duty, and it is a really hard aspect of practicing medicine now, but you just have to do it.
And Heather, you could name so many things, I think, through what you've been through from Evergreen.
What was that?
But I loved how in your presentation it was just so much intellectual data. Tell us a little bit more about your personal experiences, if you would.
Yeah, they said these women are all grounded in science and courage and bravery and intellect, and all we've heard was their personal stories justifying their hate against trans women, essentially. Nobody else. We haven't really made reference to the trans men. Nobody cares about them. That really get these women's panties in a bunch. And at least it's in a bunch because of transphobia, not because of anything else in there, because that will be political easy.
Sure. Okay, I'm on. I think actually talking about friendships, my senior thesis in college was about how unrelated female monkeys find friends and what matters to them about friendships. And it may be surprising to hear that monkeys have friends, but they do.
Is that surprising? Of course monkeys have friends.
It's not all about the things we think if it's not about kin, right? And I was doing that work with a very important physical anthropologist whose work had been on skeletal differences, sexual skeletal differences.
Yeah, because when they dig you up, they're gonna know that you were a man, and then your whole life's gonna be a waste, even though you've been dead for thousands of years. Get a grip.
In early humans. And this was in the late 80s, early 90s, she got captured by this, whatever this is, this proto-ideology, even back then, such that when I walked in to the first day of my primatology class, there was a list of terms on the board that we were not allowed to use. And they included sexual selection and reciprocal altruism and other standard bearers of truth in evolutionary biology. At the time, I couldn't imagine what actually was going on, and I was mostly silent then. I sat and I listened and I thought, this isn't the person I'm going to end up learning the most from. And I ended up learning more from the evolutionary biologist next door, Bob Trivers, whom I mentioned already. But then I thought, okay, there's this one crazy anthropologist out there who doesn't believe in sexual selection, even though she literally studies the differences between skeletons by sex. How is that possible?
I want to know what that is. Natural selection arising through preference by one sex for certain characteristics in individuals of the other sex. It's a form of natural selection. Because it is a piece of natural selection, the traits that certain organisms use in order to produce offspring will inherently be passed down genetically to that same offspring. So here it's talking about the common glowworm, and the ability for the female to attract males by their glow is a sexually selected trait. So the females that are able to glow, or maybe glow brighter than their other female counterparts, are more likely to find a mate and get the sperm. So it all really comes down to the idea of some sort of evolution based upon the act of creating offspring and what that specific situation looks like. It also acknowledges, or rather allows, sexual selection to be empirically tangled up with other fitness components that will make the measurement and interpretation of sexual selection problematic. We should expect that, though, and in such cases, the utility of holding our names for individual fitness components starts to be called into question anyway. All evolutionary biologists are population geneticists at heart, whether they like it or not. Our main aim in writing this paper, though, is to allow the next generation of sexual selection researchers to address the many questions still left unanswered without the baggage of the definition of sexual selection lying around. Sexual selection may be complicated, but its definition, we believe, is simple. Okay, I feel like I learned a lot from this paper, but not from this person. Oh, we've been here too long. Okay, keep going.
And then through grad school, through the 90s, through the early aughts, it felt like that just disappeared. There were these rare things, rare people. And I think what happened is that most of the students who heard that stuff went, that doesn't make any sense. We're not gonna pay attention to those people. And most of them went out into the world and made sense for themselves. And some of them became professors and spoke what we understood to be truth. But some of the people who heard those faculties say those crazy things back in the 80s and 90s went on to become today's faculty. And that's what we are seeing. That is part of how the academy got taken over, Carole. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I've heard a lot of you mention truth, and any of you jump in where you're like, you don't have to wait for me to call on you. Colin's presentation, he was saying, like, look, sex is binary and this is data, but it's getting into the journal.
But it's also not, sex is not binary, okay.
That this other view, which I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, like, this is Lysenkoism. And, but if we say that, we get told, well, that's just your ideology. No one believes in truth.
Okay, this is the last thing I'm chasing. Do you know what Lysenkoism is? Because we're about to. Buckle up. Lysenkoism was a pseudoscientific political campaign led by the Soviet biologist Trofim Lysenko against genetics and science-based agriculture in the mid-20th century, rejecting natural selection in favor of a form of Lamarckism, as well as expanding upon the techniques of vernalization and grafting. More than 3,000 mainstream biologists were dismissed or imprisoned, and numerous scientists were executed in the Soviet campaign to suppress scientific opponents. Yeah, so these women aren't going to jail because of their hateful beliefs. It's really not the same thing at all. That's just the most ass backward. Okay, oof, it's late. I'm losing it
anymore. And I think especially when we're talking about courage and speaking up, we have to have the courage of our convictions. But it's good to doubt yourself too, to ask, could I be wrong? So I wonder if any of you on the panel would like to talk about, where do you find the courage to say, no, I believe that this is true. I've done the work. Here's why, and what tips do you have?
I'll take that first, because one of the things about teaching at Evergreen, which was an amazing school and allowed for full-time interactions with students such that you got to know them super well. And once you know just a little bit about everyone in the room with you, which is impossible in a room this big, but once you know something about everyone, when you say things that are that are controversial, that seem dangerous, that people are going to disagree with, and someone takes offense, you can be sure actually they're not taking offense with you as a human being, but with the idea that you just presented. And you can also push back on them and say, yeah, I think you're wrong, or even I know you're wrong, and here's how I know. Or I think you're wrong, and here's why I think that. And sometimes, if you have a relationship with students, and I know Carole had the same kinds of experiences in her classrooms, it is incumbent upon the faculty to come back the next day, the next week, and say, I was wrong. I took a stand about something and I was wrong. And once you are able to do that in front of people, such you demonstrate humility and simultaneously respect for truth, then they don't think when you say things that sound outlandish to them that you're trying to bully them or that you're disrespecting them as people. You actually are trying to get to what is true.
Yeah, we have different endpoints and we have different definitions, I guess, of what truth is. But yeah, no, I liked what she just said.
People want that, just as Carole was saying.
Mm-hmm.
And just to build on that, as I was thinking about what we were going to talk about, I must have realized this before, but I don't think there's any other system that works as well as truth and reality in people's efforts to reduce suffering. And
but you have to remember that this whole thing is built within the opposition of trans ideology. Not that I'm using that legitimately, but we are taking away gender-affirming healthcare, and somehow this woman is aligning that with minimizing suffering. And if we're thinking of truth in any form of what is reflected back into science...
And we're seeing the consequences of ideology. And so it seems like there's truth versus ideology. And I don't know what the other available systems are, but truth to me seems to be the best way towards true social progress and true social justice that has to be built on a foundation of reality. Otherwise, it will collapse. So that is why I think I have faith in the truth. There's nothing better than that.
Yeah. And people need to be able to argue about the truth.
There we go. Yeah, they turned it on.
People need to be able to talk. And the fact that so much of this is about suppressing speech and language. Yeah, but it's like shutting people up. So many women have been banned from speaking. I mean, Corinna Cohn and I had a talk planned at the Denver Press Club for the Thursday before this conference at the Denver Press Club, which canceled us. Because what we're talking about is so incredibly dangerous. So, I mean, it's not like anybody can know the whole truth, right? But we have to be able to talk about it.
Yeah, just briefly. Hey, and some of it is a luxury belief. I mean, in the emergency department, it's just real, medicine. I mean, I'm not at an elite academic center by choice. I go down mostly to the south side of Chicago because I feel that's also my commitment to my city that I grew up in, that's where people need to be, served. But it's a luxury belief. There isn't any of this on the south side of Chicago, and
there's no trans people on the south side of Chicago. This is so dumb.
Also just in emergency medicine, you have to be hyper competent, right? I mean, and when you come in for a shift as the attending, if you're not competent, and obviously that means living in the truth, your staff, you're just illegitimate. Your staff doesn't follow you. So, there is no one in the emergency department.
We're skirting around the issue so much. These people are just layering all of their beliefs in so much context. We have the super obvious, women don't have penises. And then we have, all of this identity-laden stuff that I hate. Yes. Okay, we're so close to being done.
Incompetent to that level because they would just be weeded out. But the question is, what's hard aside from all the dysfunctions is when these ideologies are seeping in. No one asked any of us we're going to change this in the medical record. Is that confusing to the end user? No one asked me that. No one asked you just walk in one day and it's all this confusing stuff. It's those things that we're still
really a trans person being trans. That's all confusing. I don't think that's that confusing, but
eating again.
but I'm not a medical professional.
That we then have to, speak out in these forums about try and work through the hospital. But, people are rooted in the truth. And then just very lastly, people I deal with that have like addiction issues. Obviously, we see all of that in the ER.
All trans people have addiction issues. Wild.
Over the years, I've found my voice and I am truthful. I tell people, like, you're an alcoholic. And guess what? They know they are. And they appreciate when you are a partner with them and say, I want to help.
But having an alcohol addiction is not the same as being transgender. I'm sorry. That is so stupid.
If you keep drinking, you're going to kill yourself. And I write that.
And if you keep taking testosterone, you're probably going to be fine. But there might be health complications. There's health complications with everything.
On the discharge. And I try and give them resources. Go to AA, do this. Or, if you don't lose weight, your knees hurt because you're 350 pounds. You need to lose weight. And this, guess what?
I'm going to cancel her because I'm triggered.
People who are overweight know it. And they know that it's causing medical problems. I have so many people that say, thank you, Dr. Mendoza. No one has ever said that to me.
All right, I'm being told it's time to wrap up, but there's so much more that we could ask all of these women about their experiences. So
I'm sure there is. We are going to cut it there. Thanks so much for getting to the end of this episode of Dismantling Hate. If you like this, specifically the GenSpec nonsense, I can't imagine why you would, but I have lots of other videos reacting to queer stuff in general, but also specifically trans-spec videos. So have a peruse through the Dismantling Hate playlist and watch the rest of those at your leisure. I'm David Day. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Subscribe to this channel. It's late. I'm tired, but I got my hair done and I'm serving full ginger. And until the next one, goodbye. Nina Paley created the Gender Wars playing cards. Oh my god. Oh god, she has a podcast called Hetero Dorks. Okay, I'm done. I'm so done. Goodbye.